On June 29, 2025, I had gotten a text from one of my friends in one of my group chats saying RIP Seshspawn. My heart immediately dropped and I immediately checked the group chat and responded saying that they were being serious. When they responded with, yeah, IRL confirmed, heard it from the No Lives Matter Discord. I was shocked, to be honest. Nearly 6 years into making music, and hearing that Seshspawn was gone was truly unbelievable to me. This man worked his ass off for years, grinding, making music, performing, and still attending school for his master's degree, just to make his parents proud, and it truly hurts to see that such a young artist passed away and still have his cause of death unknown. Seshspawn was a person that truly wanted to change his ways and believed in encouraging others to be better. Today, I will be going over the short time that Seshspawn sadly had in this world, a little mini documentary, since Seshspawn was a close friend of mine. Shout out to CHRISX and his mother BLANKA for helping me with this documentary. If you have any more questions, please do contact them. All links will be down below.
Run, nigga! You better die, nigga! I came to the bike, nigga! I'm just having fun, nigga! Hot heads! With the fire spitting shit! With the wolves and running shit! Keep the blitz like to his lips! Yeah, we hot heads! With the fire spitting shit! With the wolves and running shit! Keep the blitz like to his lips! With the wolves and running shit! With the wolves and running shit!
Janelle Noah Lord, or Seshspawn, was born December 16, 2001 in Germany before his parents moved to El Paso, Texas, where Seshspawn grew up listening to a lot of rap music, such as Ludacris, Waka Flocka, and Busta Rhymes, Waka Flocka being one of his main influencers. He later began to explore the different genres of music and fell in love with the metal sound with artists such as Green Day, Papa Roach, and Linkin Park, which we can later see that heavily inspired his sound. But with Sesh listening to all this music and watching the live performances, he got inspired and wanted to become a star and wanted to become the center of the attention, since according to Seshspawn himself, he was bullied a lot growing up for the way that he looked and dressed, since he grew up not having much money for his clothes, so he would have to wear jeans that were too wide for him and always have a buzz cut.
I used to get bullied a lot for my looks, and I was like, I guess we didn't have a lot of money growing up, so people make fun of like my, because like back in like 2008, skinny jeans were like the trend, and I was
They've never been the trend, bro.
Like the fuckers were like bullying me because my jean cuts were too wide, and like no, I didn't fit in, and I had these really small glasses, and I had a buzz cut, and like everybody would make fun of me and just call me names and shit.
Yeah.
And then eventually I started lashing out, and I would fight kids in school and shit.
Of course, now the buzz cut and the baggy ass jean combo is kind of like the norm now, but back then skinny jeans was kind of the trend. It was the next big thing into fashion. So of course, with all this bullying happening, Seshspawn would have to put the dumpers on these kids, and he would constantly be getting into fights according to him. He even said that his family had a history of short temper, so Seshspawn also loved to make people mad since he hated being told what to do. He began making beats on his dad's laptop off free online beat makers that, in his own words, were trash and was just for fun, and doing it for practice. In 2016, Seshspawn found out about XXXTentacion, one of his biggest inspirations, since he was the reason that Seshspawn took on the trap metal sound. In the Words on Fire podcast, Seshspawn confirms this, saying it was cool to see someone making good music just by being angry.
I got murdered, right?
Rip. He's the one who like introduced me to that, like, oh, so you can be angry on a song and make it sound good. So I was like,
according to his mother, Sesh loved to play sports and was an outgoing kid that loved to sing and dance. He loved playing sports such as baseball and basketball, but basketball was his main interest, since he even dreamed of playing it for the NBA. He was also of course inspired by the very early sound of the SoundCloud days, since he basically did grow up experiencing the growth and change of SoundCloud. Seshspawn was of course interested in how fast this new generation of artists was blowing up and gaining attention. According to Sesh's mom, he expressed wanting to make music in 11th or 12th grade, but she wasn't very supportive at first, since the SoundCloud era was just beginning to change the music industry, and it wasn't very unsure for someone to make a living off of it, unless you had a label deal or knew somebody that was already famous. His mom still of course didn't want to take that dream away and gifted him a laptop for Christmas. Mid-2019, Seshspawn began making music but wasn't taking it seriously up until 2020, after he graduated in June 7, 2020, and that's when he decided to take it more seriously and went full send with his career. Seshspawn's old sound was nothing like the recent music that he makes now. He used to make these emotional, gritty, and melodic sounds that had this kind of a Suicide Boys type of vibe, but more aggressive, since he was trying to play it safe and make music that was easy to listen to and not so in your face.
Glass and it's flesh, it's nothing less. I'm feeling feeling stressed. I try my best to stay alive. I'm up past 5, it's suicide. I'm wasting time to get my mind right out the lies. I feel the pride before my sleep. I'm feeling weak down to the knees, it's killing me.
One of Seshspawn's first time recording music was when he was with his producer CHRISX, and it was the very first time meeting him. They met before in high school but weren't that close since they were both introduced by another friend, and they both just had very big interest into making music. Seshspawn wanted someone to record his music while Chris wanted to learn how to produce and record for artists. The very first encounter he had with Seshspawn, in his very own words, was when they both had agreed to meet up at Chris's house and record music. And when Seshspawn arrived, it was just a mutual "what's up" followed by an awkward silence. Chris being the first one to break the silence and ask JJ if he had a beat ready to record on. And by the time he had everything set up and ready to go, he turned around and Seshspawn already had his shirt off, ready to go crazy, and started yelling on the microphone.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Seshspawn at this point was going by a different name, that being Okage JJ, but he didn't want his name to be on his artist name, so he came up with a different name, that being Seshspawn, a mix of names from Inuyasha Sesshomaru and comic book character Spawn, saying that both these characters represented him. They were anti-heroes, people viewed them in whatever way that they wanted, and they thought of them in however they wanted. And that's how Seshspawn felt. He didn't care if he was liked or hated or loved. He knew that he would be the best and he didn't want to let that go. And he had his name changed way before he dropped his first ever song. He didn't want his first song to be of him wilding on the mic, so he instead went with a different type of sound, with a Night Lavelle type of sound, which ended up working in his favor since it ended up getting 17,000 plays. According to his producer CHRISX, the very first song that they ever recorded was for a song that he was featured on called Two Tails, and on that same day they recorded Seshspawn's very first Screamo song, that being Glassface. Seshspawn slowly started getting a little fan base since this whole horrorcore sound ended up dying down, and the crazy trap metal sound that XXXTentacion was popularizing was the next big thing. Seshspawn would eventually meet artist Slutty Sony, both early in their careers, with Slutty Sony being the one that was seriously catching a lot of attention in early 2019 since people compared him to X, but Sony's music was genuinely good. After XXXTentacion's passing, the trap metal sound completely filled SoundCloud servers, with new rappers coming out every day with the same aggressive screaming sound. Seshspawn would one day decide to scream on the track since he remembers as a kid always yelling and screaming and always thought it would sound cool on a song. That song ended up being Glassface. But that wasn't without a little push from Slutty Sony himself. And Seshspawn must have found his sound, because after changing his sound, it seemed like it was only up from here. Seshspawn would eventually meet up with his friend CHRISX to record one of his best songs, Hellhounds. I vividly remember when this song first came out and it was blowing up like crazy. Of course, with all this attention, he was meeting a lot more people that would later help him in his career. People such as Slutty Sony, Sex Dante, Rummy Lavinge, and Vibe. And even at one point was part of an underground collective by the name of Lunacy Garden, but that's a whole nother story. But all the success really must have took a toll on Sesh's mental, since with all this attention and the new fans and all the eyes watching him and all the pressure on him, Seshspawn probably felt overwhelmed. I mean, he was releasing some really good songs all of 2020, but he still wasn't where he wanted to be. He wanted to be at the top and be known for his music, and with the collectives and groups that he was in always getting into beefs and insulting fans, Seshspawn decided to go solo and focus heavily on his career, because Seshspawn loved helping other artists out with their problems and he would help them find their sound. Even with all this happening, Sesh was still dealing with so much. For example, on August 31st, 2020, Slutty Sony, one of Seshspawn's inspirations and closest friends, had his life taken away after he had been missing for a week, and his body parts were later found scattered around the road after being hit by a bus when he supposedly took a walk on the road of a freeway. And if you think this sounds sus, well, I don't blame you, because Seshspawn himself said that this sounds a little unbelievable and maybe he thinks that there was a little foul play in there. There was even an open case about this, but no updates have been made or anything has been said. And with this tragic loss, of course Seshspawn got inspired to be an even better person, an even better artist, because he wanted justice for Slutty Sony. I mean, he still had his career to focus on. He still had his fans to make happy. He had school. Even with all this chaos happening, behind the scenes, Janelle was trying to be a bigger and better person. He was attending college for his master's degree just to make his mother proud. And even with all this happening, he actually still managed to graduate high school in June 2020. And he still managed to buy his own car in July. And by then, he already had his really popular song Hellhounds out. And with all this attention, his mother still didn't know he made music up until his very first show. That being until August 13, 2021, where he had his set time at 11:40 p.m. until 12 a.m. And from the looks of it, it's like a crazy performance. He got booked for another show on August 21st, and my boy was going crazy, show after show after show, with one person even bringing a flamethrower to one of his shows. Seshspawn's dream of wanting to become the star of the show and the center of attention and a rock star was on its way to becoming completed. He immediately got to work and put a lot of his anger into his first project, or his EP, by the name of Tank Boy. According to his producer CHRISX, Seshspawn really did express a lot of his anger into this album and how easy it was to piss him off, hence why it's called Tank Boy. He's someone that you don't want to take off when he's staring at you, cause shit could get hectic. Seshspawn is known for always showing off his firearms in almost every picture on Instagram. My boy had almost every legal firearm you can own. He was a little fucking Warzone character. He had a peanut butter colored FN, he had a fucking P90. My guy pulled up with fucking assault rifles in his music video. Like I really wouldn't doubt if he was in the next GTA 6 giving us fucking missions. In some of these pictures, he's even pointing the gun at himself or pointing the gun in his mouth. You can even find his main YouTube channel where he shows off a lot of his guns, so you can tell that Seshspawn really did love his guns a lot. And this man was born with aimbot. If you go look at his second page on Instagram, I'll link it down below, he has a video on there where he's hitting almost every target. So without a doubt, of course, Seshspawn's gonna gain a lot of attention posting all these pictures of himself, and he was catching major attention on SoundCloud with almost all his songs from 2020 to 2022 getting more than 10,000 plays. Around 2023, Seshspawn took a short break and wasn't really releasing much until 2024, which was almost a year-long break if he didn't release a song in between the years. Seshspawn started to become a little more active on Instagram and was starting to slowly release music and was trying to make up for 2023 where he was basically radio silent. But that doesn't mean that Seshspawn was just sitting around doing nothing. He was improving his sound. He was rocking out shows like Lover's Satellite on February 11, Softcore on February 25th, and Seshspawn had an amazing fit on this day. The Rap Show on April 1st, After Hours on April 8th, and many more. He was also learning how to produce so he could start making his own beats, and some of these beats were genuinely fire. If you go on his second account, OG Deathwitch, I'm pretty sure you'll be able to find a good amount of them. Seshspawn was enjoying this life that he was having, and it showed that he was trying to improve himself. He was going back to learning to produce, he was having fun with his firearms and purchasing various of different ones. He got a camera and was filming footage for all of 2025, according to this post from his second account, all while also trying to stay away from various substances, and did this by keeping himself distracted with his music. With this being said, Seshspawn had a various of phases, or in his words, alter egos, that varied on his emotions, some of these being Salem, Messiah, Tank Boy, and Onyx, where he describes Onyx as him being more vulnerable and emotional with his music, and that's what the EP Onyx was filled with. This EP ended up being released on 2024 in order to make up for the drought in 2023, and that's what the EP Onyx was filled with, a various of different sounds, and Seshspawn finally being more output into his fans, and it was his first time putting out a melodic type of song. This EP also had a boom bap song by the name of Roughneck, which I find stupid hard. He flows really well on this beat.
I put my worst in, watch me get the best out. You put your best in, nigga, you get left out. I watch a hearse spin, I leave a nigga stressed out.
Seshspawn was now starting to switch up his style, and he was making his solo singing music career a thing. I think Seshspawn was just starting to get comfortable with his new sound that he was making. This emotional rock type of sound, which I really love, because a couple of months before his death, the last ever song that he posted himself was a song by the name of A Slave to My Vessel. That was a whole different genre of music that he was making. And the meaning of this song is also kind of sad, since it talks about how somebody that he once loved and who has now moved on will end up missing him when he's gone. And just the thought of this person moving on is making him lose himself. And he's left picking up pieces of himself where he remembers that he was happy. He referenced this in the first verse of the song A Slave to My Vessel, where he says, "The thought of you with someone else, it brings me to the corner. How I pick up all the shards that's left remaining on the floor. It's not the person that I've become, it's just what's left for me." Seshspawn is also referencing his drug abuse, which is the first time in his music, since Seshspawn is known for always talking about violent stuff, and he does reference a lot about self-harm, but not much about his drug abuse. The chorus in this song is, "You cannot turn away from these thoughts that you evoke, and I know you're far away, but I'm holding with hope. With these pills inside my brain going down a lonely road, but I know you want to save me, I'm itching as of
It's kind of
lately."
scary how this was Seshspawn's last song that he posted when he was alive. A song about leaving the world and how he would be missed. As bad as it sounds, it kind of sounds like an outro to a movie. And the even sadder part is, we still don't even have an official statement on what happened to Janelle. It was known that he had a history of seizures, and it was also known that Sesh was really trying his best to stay away from any type of substances. But with his rap career, he was always around people that were always doing drugs, smoking, or drinking. Seshspawn or Janelle was truly an artist. He loved trying different sounds. He wanted to perfect every song he ever made, and he was very influential for the little time that he had. He managed to influence a lot of underground artists that needed a push, because Seshspawn was always open to hear somebody's music and give feedback, or to hear anyone out that needed help. Seshspawn was also working on himself a lot. Like I said in the last segment, he was seriously trying his best to stay away from anything that affected him negatively. And while his cause of death is still unknown, it would be really disheartening to find out that he passed away from maybe, I don't know, of withdrawal or something. I know Seshspawn loved his fans, and from the 5 years that I've known him, I've seen just how powerful and supportive his fans were. They were waiting for new music and always patient with him, since they knew he would take his hiatus. So you can even find a couple of memes regarding Seshspawn on Instagram made by his friends and family, so you know that he was loved by many. According to people that were around Seshspawn and were close to him, they all always knew that he would be something in the future. He was very confident in himself, and he always had a certain style and image of what he wanted to be ever since high school. And people even back then thought that he would make music before he even took it serious. One of Seshspawn's earlier supporters that I think deserve a spot here was his at the time girlfriend, who he met back in his early high school days. She would describe Seshspawn as a very confident, funny, outgoing person and a good friend. He would help out as much people as he could in person and online. He was a hard worker, especially when it came to his music. Seshspawn has been described as a resilient character. He never really cared what anyone said and was strong on his emotions and his opinions. He was strong enough to get through the toughest battles that he faced. He knew all his choices had a consequence and wouldn't ever be bothered by what others said to him. I was also told by his girlfriend that he was the reason that she felt comfortable being with him, and enough to get her out of her comfort zone, since she was a very quiet person and Janelle was a very outspoken and outgoing person. She would also tell me that her favorite memory with him, that being when they got into a disagreement and she thought it would be the end of them, meaning that the relationship was over with. But Seshspawn ended up going out of his way and ended up going to see her. She claimed that he ended up driving her somewhere in utter silence with a little Tracy song playing in the car by the name of Heart, which would later become their song. And as they were arriving to their destination, Seshspawn would confess his love to her for the very first time and talked about being with her forever, making her feel loved and not like something that was short term. While I didn't know Seshspawn personally, and we weren't as close as he was with his other peers, we definitely acknowledged each other's hard work, and I was even planning on meeting him back in 2024. But I had so little time in Texas, I didn't even have the chance to meet him. I was planning on recording a music video with him, and not even a month later, I would see that he posted about him making his own merch, and I asked him if he would want me to shoot a promotional video for it. And hearing that he passed was honestly shocking to me. I've had the chance to exchange memes with him, I've had the chance to have conversations with him. We basically had almost the same friends, and it's honestly crazy that I've known him, I've been listening to him for 5 years, and honestly Seshspawn was the last person I expected to pass away. This man was truly a fucking hardworking person. He did not stop making music, he did not stop in his career, he was always doing something whenever we thought he wasn't. Rest in peace Seshspawn, you truly will be missed by a lot of people, and you are.